You're listening to the Sisters in Loss podcast, a faith-based grief and loss podcast for Black women, where you will hear stories of miscarriage, infant loss, stillbirth, and infertility to learn there is a testimony in tragedy. You will learn how to heal, gain clarity, find hope and peace, and turn your pain into your purpose after loss. I'm your host, Erica M. McAfee. Welcome to episode 147 of the Sisters in Loss podcast. As we round out Fertility Awareness Month, National Infertility Awareness Week, I wanted to share a story about a young woman who did not give up hope, did not regret any of the decisions that she made, but she was relentless in her pursuit to become a mother. Brytani Bradley found out she was pregnant from her longtime boyfriend and suffered not only one, but two ectopic pregnancies, which both resulted in her losing her fallopian tubes. In this episode, Brytani takes us back on just the tragedy of seeing a baby on ultrasound, or not being able to see the baby on ultrasound, seeing the baby in the fallopian tubes, and how she almost lost her life by bleeding internally twice. This story is for you to listen to if you have experienced an ectopic pregnancy where your baby did not make its way down to the actual uterus. It fell somewhere in between the ovary and the fallopian tube, or outside of the fallopian tube. And this is for you to listen to give you hope and joy, and just to tell you that you're not alone, to give you the resilience to continue to press on your journey to motherhood. Here is Brytani Bradley. So thank you, Brytani, for being on the podcast.
Yes, thank you. You're so welcome. Thank you for having me up here.
So I would love for you to share with the listeners a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay. Well, I am a 23-year-old entrepreneur. I recently just made this decision to leave my full-time job as a life insurance agent to pursue some other avenues. I kind of just woke up and realized that 40 hours of my time every week was just a lot. And it took away from my relationship. It took away from my project, because I recently started my own podcast, and it took away from spending time with like my friends and family. So I decided, me and my boyfriend decided it would just be best if I took this time to pursue that. So that's what I'm doing now. But I am young, and I know that when I think of my future, not only do I see myself being a successful entrepreneur and Black businesswoman, but also as a mother and expanding my own family. I was the oldest of my mother's kids and my father's kids. And so I've always had to take care of my siblings while my mother had to work. She was a single mom. And even with my dad's kids, I didn't have much of a relationship with him. But with my brothers and sisters, we kept in touch through social media, and I've always helped in that big sister role. Now, me and my boyfriend, we've been together for almost 4 years, coming up in April. And our relationship has definitely been one for the books, kind of like the craziest roller coaster ride I've ever been on. And around year 2, so back in 2017, of us being together, he was in the midst of a divorce from his ex-wife, and I found out I was pregnant. So that was it was just a complete surprise, because I was trying to finish my bachelor's degree at ODU. I have recently transferred from Hampton University to ODU. So I'm trying to go back to school and just finish it out. Me and Quinn are trying to stay strong and trying to make our relationship work out as he's going through this period with his ex-wife and trying to get custody of their daughter. So me being pregnant was just not it. It was not it. And we decided that we were going to, regardless, God had our back. God got us this far. God was going to see us through. Like, we're not going to question timing or anything, because if we loved each other the way we said we did, then it was just all going to work out. So we accepted that, and it was like, okay, so what do we need to do? So we went and bought, prenatals. We started changing our eating habits and just some other habits, bad habits we would have as a young couple. And everything seemed that like it was fine. I didn't have any morning sickness or any crazy cravings yet. I was still early. I was even producing breast milk already, which I didn't understand. I really didn't know. And I didn't have anyone to talk to, like an older female to talk to or get advice from, because my mom passed away in 2015 as I was a freshman at Hampton University. And my grandmother, she has her own things going on. And so I didn't really, as women in my family, we don't really talk about emotions, or we don't talk about situations that would need advice on a deeper level. It's kind of like, okay, you have this going on, so what are you going to do about it? Okay, cool. So as far as going through a pregnancy, I kind of just relied on Google. I just relied on Google. I didn't have any major cramping. I didn't have any crazy symptoms that would signify anything was wrong. I relied on Google for what I needed to eat. Obviously, my doctor for what to stay away from and what prenatals I need to take, that type of thing. And everything seemed like it would go fine until one day I had just left from my hairdresser's house to get my hair braided and got back to my apartment. And all of a sudden, I just felt like a sharp pain. And I thought it was oh my gosh, thinking back is so silly. I thought it was because my hair was braided too tight and and that I might have tilted my head the wrong way, but it wasn't that. And it was just like this really sharp pain that I remember just wanting to lay down. And so I do that, but I kept feeling it, but I wasn't bleeding and I wasn't feeling nauseous, and it was just this sharp pain in my side. So it kind of felt like maybe like a cramp in my leg and like a sharp stab in my stomach. But anyway, I called my doctor gave me like this nurse's 1-800 number, 24-hour nurse. And I called and told them my symptoms, and they asked if I was bleeding, and I said no. And they were like, oh, well, just take some Tylenol. But if it gets worse, then maybe go to the doctor or go to the emergency room. So I'm like, okay. So I lay down and I start to go to sleep. And then I have this really, really strong jolt. And I want to get out of the bed, but I can't. I literally cannot move my leg. So I call my boyfriend. He comes from the gym. He picks me up. He takes me to the emergency room. And while we're standing there waiting to check in, everything stops. And I feel normal. And I start feeling bad, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get this hospital bill and everything's fine now. I really just need to go home and go to sleep. But luckily, Quinn was like, no, we're going to stay because there's no reason why you were crying. And, I had to get a wheelchair and carry you in here just for you to come here and then feel fine. So I thank God that we stayed, because fast forward, after they took some blood work, I had just I had just hit 8 weeks that day. So after they took the blood work, all of my, I guess my count or whatever had signified that I was very much pregnant. But when they tried to do a ultrasound, it showed that my uterus was empty and that I was actually experiencing an ectopic, and it looks as if my tube may have, if that's the case, then my tube may have burst, and I need to go undergo surgery right away. Being in that hospital room, and my boyfriend, I'll never forget the look on his face, because the moment I heard uterus empty, I had a general idea of what was happening to me, but he was really confused. He was so confused because he didn't know why, as soon as the nurse left, I burst out into tears. He thought it was some type of hope for the baby or fetus. I don't really know the correct term to make it. He just thought it was a chance. But we undergo surgery I undergo surgery, and my right tube had to be removed. And from the follow-up that I was told is that if I think I lost pint a pint of blood internally, and if I decided to just go home and go back to sleep, I could have passed away from that. So after my doctor's checkup, and I bring the pictures, because they give you the pictures from where they had to go in with the robot and the microscope and what everything looked like. I still had an ovary. I still had 2 ovaries and 1 tube. And so it was still kind of hopeful, because I was just like, oh, God's timing. It's not meant for me to have kids yet, because of, as I mentioned before, everything me and my boyfriend were trying to do individually, and it's just, okay, a wake-up call to maybe take care of your body better, or, just in case you were to get pregnant again, to be a little bit more financially prepared. So I've left out of that consultation or follow-up with my OB hopeful. Excuse me, but that happened in June of 2017. And in January 2018, I found out I was pregnant again. And the way I found that out was by trying to play a joke on my boyfriend, and taking a pregnancy test and being like, oh, I'm pregnant. But the test actually came out positive. And so it was like another wake-up call, oh, we need to schedule an appointment so we can make sure we don't have a repeat. And that's what we did. So from 5 weeks, by the time I found out, I was 5 weeks, and I was going to the Centera in Hampton every other day so they could monitor my blood count. And then once we hit 6 weeks, they were going to go and try to do an early ultrasound to make sure everything was okay, because I did experience an ectopic pregnancy before. So time for the ultrasound comes around, and I have no news, because they are not able to see anything. But my blood shows that I'm very much pregnant, and the baby should be developing just fine. But, 6 weeks is still kind of early. It might not be anything to see yet. So they've rescheduled me for the following week, with hope that if my levels continue to rise as they've been doing, that when I come back next week, they'll be able to see something. But the day before we were scheduled for the actual ultrasound, Quinn was at work, and I was on the couch watching cartoons and eating. I start cramping really bad. but it wasn't the same type of pain I felt before with the first one. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't be eating ice cream and pickles right now. Like maybe my stomach is upset. So I try to just drink some water, and it starts getting worse. It starts to feel more like when my menstrual cycle comes on. So I'm just like, oh, I am having a miscarriage. I remember hoping that I was having a miscarriage and not another ectopic, because if I lost my only tube, then I don't know how I would ever have kids. And as I stated before, I've always been the oldest. I've always taken care of other people. I aspire to be a mom one day. I was hoping so bad for a miscarriage, because if I had a miscarriage, then that means I still had a tube to have a baby one day. And like, this doesn't feel like my first ectopic. So that's not happening right now. And then I started to feel like, I guess, what would be like bleeding. Like I knew I felt like discharge or whatever. So I was like, oh, okay, yes, blood. Like I wasn't bleeding before. I'm bleeding now. So I called my friend, because where Quinn works, he's not allowed to have any phone that has a camera. He works for the government. So I knew whenever he was able to actually go off site and check his phone, that he would just see that, hey, I had my friend come take me to the hospital. Everything's like, okay, everything's going to be okay. Just meet me here, whatever. So I get to the emergency room, and that's when I really start cramping and I'm really bleeding. Like they have to bring a towel and everything. It's like, and the whole time I'm just like, yes, miscarriage. And so when they get me in the back to run tests and check everything, it wasn't a miscarriage. It was another ectopic. But I was kind of hopeful, because the doctor I had at the time told me that it doesn't have to require complete removal of my tube, because they may be able to just go in and grab where the baby is developing and sew it back up and whatever. They might be able to save my tube. And not really knowing much, I thought that was okay. But I wish I would have known better, or had more say so into what was really going on, because my tube ended up bursting and had to be removed. There was no saving anything. For them to get me to surgery, there was no, I guess, however it looked to them, there was no need to rush the process, or I really don't know. And I think I've suppressed it by not thinking too much about it. I really do think I've suppressed it by not thinking too much about it, because there was no, it opens up another conversation about Black women and how they're treated in hospitals. Because I was not treated with urgency at all. And because there was no urgency taken, like I lost like a pint and a half this time, almost 2 pints internally. My tube had to be removed. Thank God I didn't die. Just thank God I didn't die. But I walked away. I was 21 at the time, knowing that what I wanted to become, I would have to make it in life to afford kids. Like there's no way. I can't just prepare myself. Like I'll never be able to and I don't know if it sounds like, I don't know if it sounds immature, really how it sounds, but I'll never be able to share that moment with my partner, with Quinn. Like, hey, I'm waking up and throwing up now. Like, oh, maybe I'm pregnant, or just unknowing. Like, I have to always make sure I'm financially stable, and more than financially stable, because I have to pay for a child. Or there's never that element of surprise anymore for me. It takes it away because I have to plan. Like, I have to plan. There's no surprise. And as far as considering myself a mother, I don't really associate that term with myself. I don't associate being pregnant with myself. I've kind of even forget I was, it's brought up. Unless it's brought up to me, or because I still have visible scars. So if I'm wearing something and people ask where they're from, it's like, oh yeah, this and this and this. Like, I had 2 ectopics. The way I talk about it, the way I noticed I talk about it is like, oh yeah, this is what happened, and then I move on. Even me and Quinn haven't really discussed that we've experienced not 1 but 2 losses, or really even considered the fact of, when it comes down to having a family, like, this is what it takes. It's just one of those things that we know, and we don't really think about it. And so I don't think I've really grieved. I don't think I've really explored what happened to me in the hospital the second time. And even honestly, that's kind of scary to me, because you hear about it in the media, and you don't really take the time to reflect of how you may have also been treated a certain way. And I feel like if I was to really sit and think about it, that it would really honestly break my heart that there was something that could have been done for me, and the action wasn't taken. So I just don't think about it. But my main goal is what I'm looking forward to now is understanding that and accepting that I am still a woman, regardless of not being able to or not being able to naturally bear children. That I'm not so damaged being this young. I feel like I'm really too I'm really too young to be going through this, honestly. And I know it happens to young people all the time. Some people are born with birth defects, or just for whatever reason, they can't bear children. I know it happens, but I know for me, being surrounded by friends that are constantly getting pregnant and having kids, and I'm always, because I am that loving and caring friend, I just do stuff for others. Everyone invites me everywhere. Everyone wants me to help them plan their baby showers or their gender reveals, like, because I've always been the planner. So I plan everybody else's stuff, and it's no problem. I love that people invite me to first birthday parties and baptisms and, like, milestones. But it kind of sucks. It kind of sucks sometimes when I realize it, that, that that is what I do for other people, but when what it might not get done for me. And then no one really talks about it either. And it's not there. And I struggle with knowing, I struggle with, can I, like, am I being bitter, or am I being selfish by saying, like, hey, you're complaining about, being pregnant right now. You're complaining to me about being pregnant right now. Like, and as my friend, do you know that I wish I could be that? But I don't ever want to turn conversations on me. If people are using me as their friend to vent to, like, that's what friends are for. But I don't think anyone also like realizes how some of the things they say to me in regards to like their motherhood journey affects me. And sometimes like I said, I just don't think about it. So it's just so much I'm not clear on. And my natural reaction is just to be very avoidant and to be very passive and just suppress.
Today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp.com. That is better, HELP.com. Is there something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your personal goals? BetterHelp will assist your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You can start communicating in under 24 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It is professional counseling done securely online. There's a broad range of expertise in BetterHelp's counselor network, which may not be locally available in many areas. This service is available for clients worldwide. You can log into your account anytime and send a message directly to your counselor. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses, plus you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions so you won't ever have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room as with traditional therapy. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change counselors if needed. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today. Visit their website at betterhelp.com/sisters. That's better, HELP, and join the over 500,000 people taking charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. There's a special offer for our listeners. For Sisters in Loss listeners, get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/sisters. I am so excited for you all to tune into BetterHelp, as I've been using it for the last 4 weeks, and I absolutely love the counselor that I was matched with. You can also choose a counselor that is specifically works with African American patients or is African American themselves, especially if you're looking for someone who can relate to your cultural experiences as you're going through grief, loss, and healing. Once again, the website to get 10% off is betterhelp.com/sisters, better, HELP.com/SISTERS.
Oh, girl, Brittany, yes, you have broke it all the way down, and I am so happy that you shared all that you shared, mainly because I think that it's something that we all naturally do. It's a part of our grieving process. Some people are more open and ready to go and talk to someone and get the help that they need. And then a lot of us, more specifically Black women, like you said, we just keep going. And it's not until we get triggered by something. And in your case, you know, you have friends who are getting pregnant, friends who are inviting you to kids' birthday parties and baby showers and things that are going on around you that you're like, hold on, like, what happened to me? You know, like I want to experience this, that you really got to sit with your feelings. So everything that you just said is valid. Everything that you said around just the way you felt like around about your body, that is valid. Like your feelings are valid. Everything that you said is just really truly how you feel. It's just now, what are we going to do about those feelings? And how are we going to take those feelings so that you can sit with them, understand them, and move forward on this next step of your journey? I like that you said is that, you know, the reality of having a family, having both of your fallopian tubes removed. You know, a lot of women who are listening, who are part of the Sisters in Loss community can relate to that because they may not have ever physically been able to get pregnant, you know? So they still have to use some type of alternative fertility treatments to go through to be able to carry a child to term. But what I know is that through tenacity, through faith, that God can do the impossible, you know, with a little bit of science, you know, and a lot of faith, you can still bring home a baby if that's the way you choose to do. So I would love for you to talk about just what any resources or tools that has helped you get to the point that you're at now, and what are you looking forward to on the next steps of your journey?
The tools and resources I've honestly used has been your podcast. Your podcast is one of them for just insight and to hear other women's stories and their journey, to know that, I might not have anyone in my immediate circle that I can talk to, or just hear their side, that, there's some type of relation there. I can come to this platform and hear it. But to even get triggered or to get the ball moving for what made me even start looking for that was from going to therapy. Therapy, I found a great Black therapist for me, who can really relate to me on a spiritual level, and because she is a minister, and having her listen to me, like truly listen to me, and so doing a lot more reflection and writing. But as far as actual resources about what I can do to move my journey forward, I don't have any. And that's what I want to look into, getting into some women's groups, or maybe even like more books. I don't know where to start, to also help build the hope that there's ways to have my family one day. And at what point, and as I stated before, my mother is deceased, and when I think about older women I can go to for guidance, I'm always looking for mentors, or just someone that can help me develop into a woman, because I don't know who to talk to. I don't even know, when would be age appropriate for me to start looking at a family, because I only realize how young I am when I think about my age. But when I think about like my stage and the walk I've done in life thus far, the time and the age like always gets, I forget. I feel like I'm a 48-year-old woman sometimes, in the sense of I feel like I don't have time for anything, or I don't know where, everything needs to be done right now. Like, I need to be making six figures right now and have a house that's paid off and own four businesses. I feel I feel like and those are just examples, but I just honestly feel like I need to have more things in motion right now, and I don't have them. And then when I'm looking for mentors, I look for older women that's like, hey, like, at your age, I was doing this. Or you don't have to be looking at a family right now. Or, I've been married for such and such amount of years, and this is what it takes to be a wife. Or I never just had any type of guidance from another woman. And so I just really be feeling like all over the place. And I think moving forward, when I think about my journey to having my own family, it would be nice to find more resources that lets me know it's okay to be at this stage in my journey, if that makes sense.
No, that makes so much sense. And one thing that I have learned so much from a lot of the women in this community, a lot of the listeners on the podcast, is that it doesn't really matter where we are in our journey. I think that we all end up learning something from themselves, whether you are in your 20s or in your 40s. We all have big sisters in the group that help mentor us and help guide us. And I am excited that you are a part of the community. So now we are going to make sure that we take you under our wings and that you are good to go.
Yes, thank you.
No problem. So for the listeners who have gone through a similar experience, they've had either miscarriages or a ectopic pregnancy, and they've lost their ability to naturally conceive. what encouraging words can you leave with those listeners?
For me, what words can I leave for them?
Absolutely, yes.
My words to you would just be to remain faithful and hopeful, and lean on your partner, because that's why they are your partner. They're there for emotional support, and to just open up in communication. That's what me and Quinn, once I realized that this was something that I didn't really deal with yet, we've been talking more about it and been there for each other, because honestly, until I decided to say, hey babe, like, I haven't dealt with this, I also didn't realize that it wasn't just me that experienced 2 losses. It was him as well. And never even taking the time to be like, oh, my body's like this. And if we break up, you can always go and have kids with someone else, but like, I'm stuck like this. But I never looked at it like, oh, well, he needs to grieve too. He's sitting with me right now. And as I was talking, like, he got emotional as well, because it's just something we didn't discuss. So what I would want the listeners to do is to lean on their support system and really talk to who they experienced the loss with, because it can help them both cope.
Yeah. So drop your social media links for us.
Definitely. So on Instagram, my personal is _music and love. But as I stated before, I have my own podcast. It is Ish Happens, where, we all experience things that happen to us in life, but it's all about perspective, and it's all about how we deal with them or dealt with them and how we overcame. So that's a new project that I started January 1st. And I've just been linking up with a lot of people, a lot of business owners, to really discuss, like, hey, we see you're out here doing these great things, but let's talk about how you got here and what has really been your motivational point moving forward to get where you are. And so that on IG is at Ish Happens Podcast.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, Brytani, for sharing your story with us. I'm excited to follow your journey, and we will be there with you along the way.
No, and thank you so much. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak on your platform. This conversation has actually really helped me and given me some spunk to go and once we get off the phone, go and get some more stuff done, do my own research.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. For show notes and more information on today's guest, go to sistersinloss.com. If you have not joined our online community, go to sistersinloss.com, as well as sign up for our newsletter. We want you to be a part of the community so you can know all of the events that we have planned on as Sisters in Loss. Go to sistersinloss.com, sign up for our newsletter, join our online community, and stay connected with us. Talk to you soon.